You were born with these power to shift energies others can't touch. Most people go their whole lives never realizing the truth of who they are, not because the truth is hidden, but because it's too big, too powerful, too unfamiliar for the mind to grasp. We've been taught to look for power in titles, in achievements, in external recognition. But real power, the kind that shifts rooms, bends reality and moves the invisible currents of existence, has nothing to do with any of that. It lives in your presence, in your frequency, in the field of energy you carry without even trying. And the most staggering part, you were born with it. You were born with the power to shift energies others can't even feel. The power to walk into a space and alter its vibration without uttering a single word. That's not fantasy. That's not poetic exaggeration. That's physics. That's frequency. That's soul. And deep down, you've felt it. You've known, even if only in glimpses, that something about you causes things to happen. People open up around you. Emotions rise. Truths spill out. Or maybe chaos follows you, but not because you're chaotic, but because your very being shakes loose what others have buried. That's not a curse. That's your signature power.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
We live in a world where people are constantly managing appearances, crafting identities, curating images. But energy doesn't lie, energy reveals, and some of us were born with the gift and the responsibility of being energetic disruptors, not to destroy, but to reveal, not to control, but to liberate. You may not have known what to call it, but you felt it. The way people either gravitate toward you or avoid you entirely, the way animals, children, even strangers read something in you that others overlook. You are not ordinary. You are an amplifier, a mirror, a portal. But here's the thing, this power comes with a price. Because when you carry energy that strong, the world will try to mute it. People will project onto you. They'll misunderstand you. They'll call you too intense, too sensitive, too much. Not because you are broken, but because you disturb what they'd rather keep asleep. You ignite things, you stir things. And, in a world addicted to numbness, that feels like danger. That's why you've been told to tone it down. That's why you've been gaslit into thinking your reactions were overreactions, your intuition just imagination. But let's be very clear, your gift is real, and if you suppress it, if you keep trying to fit in, you'll become sick, anxious, depressed. Because that's what happens when power stays dormant for too long, it turns inward. So let's flip the script. What if your emotions are not a liability, but a guidance system? What if your intensity is not a flaw, but a signal of your spiritual voltage? What if every time you've felt overwhelmed, you were actually absorbing what others couldn't process? That's not weakness. That's advanced energetic sensitivity. And when that sensitivity is trained, when it's understood, embodied, and honored, it becomes a force of healing, of transmutation, of truth. Imagine this. You're in a room full of people. No one is speaking the truth. Everyone is smiling, posturing, pretending, but you, just by being there, start to shift the air. You don't say anything, you just feel. And suddenly someone starts crying, or someone starts confessing, or someone starts getting angry for no reason. That's your field doing the work. That's your energy reminding people of what they've buried. That's the sacred discomfort your presence brings. And if you've ever felt guilty for that, don't. That's your medicine. That's your signature. Some of us are born to comfort. Some of us are born to provoke, but all of us are born with the power to shift what others can't see. But let's go deeper. Where does this power come from? Is it just biology, just some gift that a few people have? No, it's deeper than that. This power is a soul contract, a cosmic agreement. Before you were born, you said yes. You agreed to carry the frequency of awakening. You agreed to be one of the ones who could feel beneath the words, sense behind the masks, and turn energy into transformation. That's why your life has never been typical. That's why your early years were filled with contrast, with trauma, with friction, not because you were being punished, but because coal must be pressurized to become a diamond. You had to be shaped, tempered, initiated. So the question now is not whether you have the power. You do. The question is, what are you doing with it? Are you hiding it to make others comfortable? Are you numbing it with distractions, addictions, overthinking? Or are you finally ready to own it, to hone it, to use it with intention and integrity? Because once you wake up to this truth, there is no going back. Everything becomes a choice. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to shift energy. Every relationship becomes a mirror. Every silence becomes sacred. You stop reacting to life and start tuning it. Like a master musician adjusting the strings of a cosmic instrument, you begin to sense what needs to rise, what needs to fall, what needs to be cleared. And the more you trust that instinct, the stronger it becomes. But don't mistake this for ego. This power is not about control, it's about service. It's about remembering that we are all connected and that your field is not separate from the field of the world. When you walk into a room, you don't just carry your energy, you carry the potential to shift the collective field. That's why presence matters. That's why self-work is sacred, because the clearer your field, the more precise your impact. Let me ask you something that might change how you see everything. What would happen if you stopped trying to be normal and started being magnetic? What would shift in your life if you treated your energy like the most valuable currency you own, because it is, and every second you spend leaking it, doubting it, or hiding it is a second you're delaying your mission? You weren't born to be passive. You were born to be a tuning fork for truth, a lighthouse in fog, a disruptor of illusions. And the sooner you own that, the sooner you'll stop attracting chaos and start channeling clarity. The world is shifting, the veil is thinning, and your energy, the one you've been doubting, is exactly what this moment requires. The frequency you forgot you were emitting and how to use it to reshape your reality. There's an invisible language you've been speaking since the moment you arrived on this planet. It's not made of words. It doesn't rely on sound or logic. It's made of frequency, of vibration, of presence. And while the world trained you to focus on what you say, how you look, and how well you perform, the universe has always been responding to something deeper, your energetic signature. Your frequency is your true voice. It's the silent signal you're sending out in every moment, and it's shaping your reality more than any action you take. Most people are unaware of this. They try to change their lives by controlling what's outside, tweaking their habits, chasing new goals, repeating affirmations. But they do it from the same energy that created their limitations in the first place. That's why things don't stick. Because the universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your state. And if your state is still rooted in fear, lack, or self-doubt, then no amount of effort will override the signal you're sending. But when you shift your frequency, you shift the field. And when the field shifts, reality bends to meet you. You've already experienced this, even if you didn't realize it. Think about the moments when you were in complete flow, when you weren't trying to impress anyone, when you weren't overthinking, when you were just being. Things aligned, people responded, synchronicities appeared. That wasn't luck, that was frequency alignment. You were emitting a signal that matched the field of possibility, and so doors opened. And the opposite is also true. When you're in a state of resistance, everything feels heavy, conversations feel forced, opportunities slip away. That's not punishment, that's feedback. That's the universe mirroring your internal signal. So if your frequency is that powerful, the next question is, how do you work with it consciously? How do you use it as a tool instead of letting it run on autopilot? It starts with awareness. You must become the guardian of your state, not in a controlling way, but in a sacred, intentional way. Every emotion, every thought, every belief you carry is like a chord in the song of your energy. When you're angry and suppress it, that vibration doesn't vanish. It distorts your signal. When you carry shame and try to mask it with confidence, the underlying frequency still leaks out. This is why inner work isn't optional, it's essential, because your outer world will always calibrate to your inner frequency. And this is where your forgotten power lies. You weren't just born with the ability to feel energy, you were born with the ability to tune it. Like a sound engineer adjusting frequencies on a mixing board, you have the capacity to shift your own vibration in real time, through breath, through intention, through presence, through radical self-honesty. This is not some mystical fantasy. This is energetic mastery, and the more you practice, the more precise you become. But here's where it gets even more interesting. You don't just shift your own reality, you influence the collective field. When you raise your frequency, you elevate the space around you. You've felt this. You've walked into a room and felt uplifted just by someone's presence. They didn't say anything, they didn't do anything dramatic, but their energy spoke volumes. That's what you are capable of. That's what you came here to do. You are not just a participant in the energetic ecosystem, you're a transmitter. And when you own that, you stop reacting to life and start co-creating it. Let me ask you something that might rewire your understanding of power. What if the real work is not about fixing the world, but about mastering the signal you emit into it? What if shifting your frequency is the most revolutionary thing you could do? Because here's the truth. When you change your signal, you change your story. People treat you differently. Opportunities find you. Relationships evolve or dissolve. Reality rearranges itself around the energy you carry. And this isn't magic. It's alignment. It's resonance. It's the physics of consciousness. But frequency work requires courage because it demands that you stop blaming the external. It asks you to take radical responsibility for the energy you hold. That means no more waiting for circumstances to change, no more waiting for validation, no more outsourcing your power. Because the moment you decide to tune into a new state, to embody peace instead of chaos, love instead of fear, authenticity instead of performance, you begin to shift timeline. You begin to pull in a new version of reality that matches your new vibration. And yes, it takes practice. Yes, you'll fall out of alignment. Yes, you'll forget. But every time you remember, even for a moment, you rewire your field. And those micro shifts compound. They ripple out. They change everything. This is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about becoming so attuned to your inner state that you no longer get swept up in the noise of the world. You were born for this. You were born to carry a frequency that others can't touch, can't explain, and often can't handle. But that doesn't mean you're too much. It means you're medicine. And the more you embody your true vibration, the more others are inspired to do the same. You become a walking permission slip for authenticity, for depth, for soul. And that's how the world changes, not through force, but through frequency. The energetic blueprint of a soul alchemist, and how to activate yours today. There's a hidden architecture within you, a kind of spiritual circuitry that was coded into your being long before you ever took your first breath. It's not physical, it's not visible, but it is unmistakably real. Some call it intuition, some call it soul memory, others simply call it knowing. But it's more than a feeling, it's your energetic blueprint. You were designed to transmute, to shift, to alchemize energy in ways that defy logic. You've done it without even realizing it. You've turned pain into purpose. You've turned heartbreak into healing. You've walked through shadows and come out with light in your hands. That's not survival, that's alchemy. Being a soul alchemist doesn't mean you wear robes, chant mantras, or live in isolation. It means you've learned, through trial, through fire, through relentless evolution, how to take what was meant to break you and turn it into something sacred. It means you've seen the underworld of your own psyche and didn't run. You stayed, you listened, you felt. That's where the blueprint activates, not in your victories, but in your willingness to be with what others avoid. That's where the real power awakens, not in your ability to escape pain, but in your ability to meet it with presence. But what most people don't realize is that this blueprint is not a fixed map. It's alive. It evolves as you evolve. And the more you align with your truth, the more it reveals. You begin to sense things before they happen. You feel people's truths underneath their words. You walk into a space and know what needs to shift, what needs to be cleared, what needs to be birthed. This isn't imagination. This is the intelligence of your energy, the ancient technology of your consciousness, activating in real time. You are not guessing, you are remembering. To activate your blueprint is to stop pretending you don't know who you are. It's to stop seeking validation for what your soul already understands. It's to stop waiting for permission to live as the energetic being you've always been. And that activation doesn't happen when you're comfortable. It happens when you make the bold choice to honor your sensitivity, to trust your inner signals, and to stop betraying yourself just to fit into spaces that were never designed for your frequency. You start activating it in the small, sacred choices, choosing presence over performance, choosing to speak your truth even when your voice shakes, choosing to walk away from what drains your field, even if it makes no logical sense. You start to notice the patterns, the energetic cues, the way your body responds before your mind catches up. That's your blueprint speaking. That's your internal compass realigning you with your path. And here's the secret most miss. You don't activate your energetic blueprint by acquiring more. You activate it by shedding, by letting go of everything that was never yours. The identities you wore to be accepted, the roles you played to feel safe, the beliefs you absorbed to belong. All of it must go, because your true energetic self doesn't need to be created, it needs to be uncovered. Like a sculpture hidden in stone, it's revealed through removal, through honesty, through devotion. Let me ask you something that might echo in your soul for days. What truth are you still afraid to admit to yourself? Because that fear, that tension, that internal resistance is the very gatekeeper of your power. The moment you walk toward it instead of away from it, the blueprint begins to light up. New codes come online, new frequencies activate, and you start to operate from a place that feels eerily familiar, like coming home to a version of you that's been waiting patiently behind the noise of your life. This is not about becoming someone new, it's about becoming you. The real you, the timeless you, the electric, unfiltered, untamed essence of who you were before the world told you who to be. The blueprint has been whispering all along, in your dreams, in your longings, in your discomfort, in your deepest desires. And the more you listen, the more you'll realize this power to shift energy, to alchemize experience, to ripple reality. It's not rare, it's not reserved, it's yours. The final unveiling, living as the frequency that transforms everything. There's a moment in every awakened life where all the searching ends, not because you've found all the answers, but because you've realized you are the answer. You stop chasing the next breakthrough, the next ritual, the next key to unlock your potential, because suddenly it clicks. The frequency you've been waiting to embody has been inside you the entire time. It was never about adding more. It was about remembering, stripping away, and finally becoming the vibration that changes everything it touches. To live as the frequency that transforms is not about dramatic gestures or spiritual theatrics. It's about the quiet revolution that happens inside you when you stop negotiating with your truth. When your yes is clean, when your no is firm, when your boundaries aren't walls but sacred instructions for how energy may enter your field. You become an instrument of refinement, not because you're better than others, but because you've devoted yourself to being clear. And in this clarity you become magnetic, not for attention, but for alignment. People feel it. They don't always understand it, but they feel it. And that's enough. You are no longer just a person navigating experiences. You are a soul transmitting codes. Every room you walk into becomes a tuning chamber. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to shift a pattern, to elevate a dynamic, to call something higher into the space. You don't need to preach. You don't need to explain. Your field does the speaking. Your presence becomes the sermon. This is what it means to be the frequency. You don't talk about healing, you are the healing. You don't try to force transformation, you embody it so deeply that others remember it's possible. And yet this way of living is not without its tests, because the more refined your frequency becomes, the more sensitive you get to what is false. You'll feel the dissonance in conversations that once felt normal. You'll sense the distortion in environments you used to tolerate. You'll outgrow relationships, careers, and identities with a speed that might scare you. But this isn't chaos. It's calibration. It's the universe rearranging around your new signal. It's life responding in real time to the truth you've stepped into. There will be days when you feel like you don't belong anywhere. Days when your clarity feels isolating. Days when your frequency reveals shadows in others that they're not ready to face. And they'll project that discomfort onto you. But don't let that make you dim. Don't let that make you question your light. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to be catalytic, the embodiment of a vibration that reminds others what's real, what's sacred, what's possible. Living as the frequency is not about being perfect, it's about being honest. It's about being willing to sit with your own distortions, not from shame, but from love. Because every time you meet yourself with compassion, you shift your resonance. Every time you choose presence over performance, truth over comfort, alignment over approval, you become more coherent, more potent, more you. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to try to change others. You don't have to convince, convert, or carry anyone. All you have to do is be. Fully, authentically, unapologetically, because your frequency will do what words never could. It will reach the parts of others that are still asleep and gently whisper, "It's time to wake up." And whether they respond or not is not your burden. Your only job is to stay true to your signal. So what does this look like in practical life? It looks like speaking when your voice shakes and staying silent when presence is louder. It looks like walking away from anything that dishonors your energy, even if it means standing alone. It looks like trusting your inner cues more than the opinions of those who don't know your soul. It looks like living each day as if your frequency is a prayer, because it is, and the world is listening, even when it pretends not to. Let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to manage perception and started honoring vibration? What would become possible if you stopped trying to be understood and started being felt? Because the truth is, the version of you that changes lives isn't the one who has it all figured out. It's the one who dares to live in full resonance, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs you everything you thought you needed. You were born with this power, not to dominate, but to dissolve illusions, to recalibrate the world by first recalibrating yourself. You don't need more tools, more followers, more validation. You need to remember. You need to feel. You need to return to the frequency that was always yours, the one you carried before the world told you who to be. This is the final unveiling, not a destination, but a way of being, so true, so clean, so alive, that everything around you begins to shift without force. This is what happens when you stop doing energy work and start being energy itself. You become the field. You become the medicine. You become the transformation. And the world begins to change not because you tried to fix it, but because you finally became the frequency it was always waiting for.